In the heart of Nairobi, there was excitement in the air as Richard, a successful businessman, prepared for the wedding of his dreams. At 32, Richard had everything: a thriving career, a beautiful home in Lavington, and a reputation that garnered admiration in both business and social circles. But beneath his polished exterior, Richard harbored a secret that threatened to unravel everything he had worked for. Richard had always known he was different. For years, he lived a double life. On the surface, a well-respected member of society, hiding his true nature. He was a closeted gay man, a fact that he kept buried deep within, knowing the consequences it would bring in a conservative society. But as the years passed, the pressure to conform mounted, especially as his aging mother, a devout Christian, began pushing him to settle down and marry a good Christian girl. And so, in 2023, Richard met Monice, a 27-year-old, intelligent and devout Christian woman from a serene town nestled in Kenya's Central Highlands. She was the perfect match, beautiful, graceful, and deeply committed to her faith. To her, Richard was everything she had hoped for, a successful man with a heart of gold. He didn't drink, didn't party, and had strong values, making him a perfect candidate for marriage in her eyes. Monice was charmed by his attention, his commitment, and the future he promised. Their whirlwind romance led to a lavish wedding in Nairobi's most exquisite venue. Guests marveled at the elegant ceremony, filled with laughter, joy, and celebratory cheer. The newlyweds were the picture of perfection. Richard dashing in his tailored suit, and Monice radiant in her white gown. But behind their smiles, the truth was a ticking time bomb. As the honeymoon came to an end, Richard's secret life began to creep back into the shadows. Monice, though seemingly content with their life together, started noticing subtle changes in Richard's behavior. He was distant at times, cold even, often retreating into himself. He was overly protective of his phone and computer, always making sure it was locked whenever she was around. Monice began to feel a growing unease. The first crack appeared when Richard's old university friend, Martin, came to visit them. Monice had heard of Martin before, a smooth-talking businessman who always had a charm that caught people's attention. But Monice noticed something that sent a chill down her spine. When Martin entered their home, Richard's demeanor changed completely. He became almost timid, as though he was walking on eggshells. One night, Monice decided to confront Richard. She had been hearing whispers about his closeness with Martin, and she couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. "Richard, is there something you're not telling me?" Monice asked, her voice trembling with both anger and fear. "Why do you avoid my questions? Why are you so distant?" Richard froze. His heart pounded in his chest as he realized the truth was about to come out. Monice had noticed the signs, the secretive phone calls, the late-night messages, and the fact that Richard rarely looked at her the way a husband should. I can't explain," Richard stammered. His mind raced, weighing his options. He had spent so many years hiding his truth. Could he truly come clean to his wife now? Monice pressed further. "I know about Martin. I see the way he looks at you. I see the way you two act around each other. What's going on, Richard?" And then it all came crashing down. Richard finally admitted it. "I've been living a lie for so long. Monice, I am not the man you think I am. I'm gay. I have always been." Monice's world shattered. The man she had married, the man who had promised to love her and cherish her forever, had lied to her from the very beginning. The reality of her marriage was more of a betrayal than she could have ever imagined. The dream she thought she was living in, her perfect Christian marriage, was built on deception. She stared at him in disbelief, struggling to comprehend the depth of the betrayal. For years she had prayed for a godly man, a man who would lead their family in the ways of the Lord. Instead, she had married a man who could not even be honest about his identity. I I don't know what to say, Monice whispered, tears streaming down her face. How could you do this to me? To us? Richard fell to his knees, begging for forgiveness, but it was too late. The damage had already been done. Monice's trust had been shattered beyond repair. In the days that followed, Monice's emotional turmoil spiraled. She sought solace in her church, where she confessed her pain to the elders. They prayed for her, but no amount of prayer could heal the devastation she felt. How could she continue in a marriage built on lies? How could she face her family, her friends, and her community, knowing that her husband had been living a life so far removed from the one he had promised her? But Richard, desperate to keep his life intact, began to manipulate the situation. He tried to convince Monice that they could make things work. He promised to go for therapy and counseling. He even suggested they attend retreats together as a way to fix him. But Monice knew the truth. He could never change. This wasn't a mistake. This was who he was. One evening, Monice reached a breaking point. She stood in their home, staring at the life they had built together. The lavish wedding, the expensive gifts, the vacations, they all seemed meaningless now. All of it was tainted by the lies. The pain of betrayal weighed heavily on her chest. She knew she had to leave. Monice filed for divorce, shocking both Richard and their families. The divorce was ugly, full of accusations, bitterness, and tears. Richard's once pristine reputation took a major hit as the truth about his secret life became public knowledge. The businessman who had once been the face of success now faced the ruin of his marriage and the collapse of his public image. As the dust settled, Richard was left alone to reflect on the lies he had built his life on. Meanwhile, Monice returned to her roots, focusing on her faith, healing, and rebuilding her life. She knew she had been betrayed, but through it all she found strength in knowing that she had the courage to walk away from a marriage that was never meant to be. The lies had destroyed their lives, but in the end, Monice emerged stronger. As for Richard, his life was left in ruins, a man who had built his empire on secrets, only to watch it all crumble with the truth. And the people of Nairobi, who had once admired him, now whispered his name in shame. If this story captivated you, be sure to subscribe to Tales by Reddy for more thrilling stories such as this. Share your views in the comments below. See you in the next one.